Welcome to day 37 of our daily Bible reading. We are entering a new book of the Old Testament today, Leviticus. And I know a lot of people have all sorts of thoughts about this, and we'll get to that in just a minute. We'll be looking at Leviticus chapters 1 through 3 and Acts chapter 13 today. So, what is Leviticus? Most of us know this as a book of rules. And there are a lot of lists of specific rules and regulations in Leviticus. As we read through this right now, I'm not as worried about the exact details of every single one of these rules. Some of them are timeless truths that apply to pretty much everyone, everywhere, all the time. Some of them are clearly culturally relevant to a specific place and a specific time and a specific way of life. The big picture that we're looking at here is how do we live with God and how do we live with our community? A lot of Leviticus is giving us morals, ethics, a code of conduct of what we should be doing in how we figure out how to get along with our neighbors, how to love our neighbors, and how to resolve conflicts. Another thing for us to think about as we're going through here is how is God present in all of the details of our daily lives? One of the things we really get as we go through this list is that God is really involved in the nitty gritty. He's going through in all of these rules some very specific situations that happen in human lives. And God was concerned then, and God is still concerned today. It would be interesting for us to maybe put together a list of rules, updating these for the types of things that are happening in our culture today with our technology. And finally, how do we make all of our tasks and all of the stuff in our lives holy, worthy of God, used by God for God's work? So as we go through here, think about how we're living together with God in our community, how God is present and involved in the nitty gritty of our lives, and how do we use everything that we're doing and everything that we have to be holy in God's sight and to contribute to expanding God's holiness in the world. Now, the first three chapters of Leviticus are looking at some different types of burnt offerings, and each of these offerings has a different purpose and some different details. As we think about these offerings, and we don't do burnt offerings these days in our lives, I wonder, though, if we still have a need for the purposes of these burnt offerings. For example, one of these was a peace offering. I think we still need a lot of peace in our world today. And what do we offer to God? What do we take out of our lives and give away to God's purposes as a way of making a sacrifice, literally giving something up of ours in order to expand God's peace in the world? We might not do an offering following the exact rules of Leviticus, but we may still need to confess things, atone for stuff that we've screwed up, and search for ways of finding peace in the world. In Acts, there's also some sacrifices. They talk about how some of the early believers are fasting as a way to pay attention to God and understand what God wants to do. This is a form of sacrifice, giving up regular meals or a certain type of food in order to be open to God's instruction and discernment in our lives. Paul and Barnabas start doing more traveling. They go to Cyprus and Pamphylia, and more people are coming to hear the good news of Jesus' love and grace for the world. Along the way, of course, in just about every place they stop, existing Jewish groups, or at least part of the existing Jewish groups, get upset about the message. They are teaching things that are assuming that the Messiah has come, and not all of the Jewish people believed in that. And so there was a lot of disruption of what was going on with Jewish communities at this time. Now, Paul says along the way that his mandate is to always go and speak to the Jewish communities in every town or village or local city he gets to first. And they either accept the message or they don't. And then Paul goes and shares it with the non-Jewish people in those communities. Along the way, Paul finds that frequently there are more of the non-Jewish people that are responding to Jesus' message and getting excited to be included by God in this new kingdom building that God is doing. And along the way, some of the people turn against them and they just get up and move on then. They don't stay and fight people. They share the news of Jesus and they let Jesus bring the growth from the seeds that they've planted. They let other people help nurture these new communities. Their job is to bring the information and keep moving. So, for us today, I would like us to think about, do we keep going or do we get bogged down in conflict? Do we get bogged down in the moments when we're not getting along with people around us? Do we keep sharing joy and hope? Or do we get as cynical and despairing as some of the people around us? Are we just focused on our own groups and our personal needs? The real question here is, are we bearing fruit? Paul and Barnabas left new believers everywhere they went. As we look through our lives, have we lived our lives in such a way? Have we shared our faith in such a way that there are more believers because we have passed through a place, a workplace, a gathering place than before we came? Most importantly, and perhaps most challenging, do we have to change? If we look around and realize there aren't a lot more believers than there were before I came, then do I need to do something differently? Do I need to schedule things differently? Do I need to organize things differently? Do I need to change something in order to be able to connect with more people? For example, I have been doing some different things online with some of the videos for our church, and we have gotten a lot more views. I don't know spiritually how those people are growing, but we're definitely connecting with more people by having changed the format of some of the videos that we are placing up on social media. And I think that's something for all of us to think about. Do we need to do something differently in order to get more people involved and hearing God's message of love and grace in their lives? Have a great day as you reflect on this, and we'll see you next time.